Good evening and good to have you with us on this edition of the Urban Debate. Viewers, the role of comics, the role of stand-up comedians is to make us laugh. The role is also to speak not just about their daily observations, day-to-day affairs, but some of them even speak about current affairs. But it's always with a bit of a humor. It's always to highlight the humor in a situation and to make us laugh. Unfortunately, in our country, more often than not, people are unable to find humor in these jokes. But instead of not watching these comics, they resort to threats, abuses, demanding criminal action, violence, and whatnot. This, unfortunately, has become a big trend, not just now. It's been going on for a while. The social media has just amplified this entire scenario. I want to talk about what happened with Agrima Joshua. Agrima Joshua did a gig in 2019. As part of that gig, she spoke about the various comments that one gets to read online about the project for a Shivaji statue in Mumbai. Her jokes were simply reading those comments that other people had left about this project. This was in 2019. In 2020, somebody, somewhere, clearly has nothing better to do, spotted it and decided to create an uproar over Shivaji Maharaj. And how dare anybody make any joke or any funny sentence with the phrase Shivaji Maharaj in it. That became so big that videos after videos, tweet after tweet of threats to her, threats about sexual violence, the most unimaginable, disgusting description of what will be done to her were put out. This wasn't just one person. This was a concerted attempt across states of people who threatened her with rape, sexual violence in such an abusive manner that their own family members will be ashamed today. But while all of this was happening, the first response of the authorities in the Maharashtra government was to order action against the comic and an investigation into that video. It is only after hours of outrage that finally the Maharashtra government and the minister said, all right, let's look into these guys who are also making these rape threats. Unfortunately, that's what it's come down to. When it's about a historical figure, when it's about a political figure, the reaction, the response due to vote bank politics is instant. You don't even have to say it sometimes. The governments will respond, the police will act with great alacrity. At other times, which is almost every day, when men take to Twitter or Instagram or YouTube or any other social media platform and abuse women, threaten rape, speak of the most disgusting things and violent things that they will do to these women, no action is taken. Think about it. And I will give you actually 1 hour. Research about it, tweet to me, message me, call us and tell us. How many instances can you give me where such people have actually been arrested and put behind bars without a nationwide outrage first? On the other hand, shows are cancelled, venues are vandalized, and threats are openly given on a frequent basis in our country. Why is there such selective action? This is what really angers me. But you know what? Before I go across to a conversation where a whole host of comics and social media influencers will join me, I want to tell you one very interesting thing. And for that, Sandhya Gora, who's been tracking this story for us, is also joining us. It's very important to understand, viewers, the profile of these people. Who are these people who think you don't think twice before using maa behan ki gali, before you abusing mothers and sisters and talking in the most disrespectful, abusive manner to a woman, but think they're doing something great by standing up for Shivaji Maharaj? Who are these people? Sandhya will tell us. Because Sandhya, when finally one man was picked up in Maharashtra, interrogated, some very interesting admissions were made by him. Tell us about this guy and Shubham Mishra, who was arrested in Gujarat. Sandhya.
Tanvi, I'll start with the second arrest because it took place from Nalasopara. Mumbai police arrested a 28-year-old man whose account name is Umesh Dada. He's also known as Imtiaz Sheikh. He has changed his religion 3 times. He's someone who failed his 8th class. He's an 8th class dropout. He sells spices for a livelihood. And it's not just this video, Tanvi. He has actually all his accounts, all his social media accounts, his timelines are full of equally filthy, objectionable videos using absolutely disgusting language towards women. Now, talking about this particular video, he posted a video where not only he gave a rape threat to the female stand-up comedian, but asked his followers to do the same. And he cited that how exactly he got offended because of a video where she spoke about Shivaji Maharaj statue. Now, one important thing, Tanvi, that he has not even watched that video, which according to him is very disrespectful towards the great warrior. He has not even watched that video once. He doesn't even know what exactly is offensive about it. He just knows it is because some people are talking about it on social media, and that's why he knows there is something wrong with the video. That was his conclusion. Second interesting thing, he confessed during his interrogation that never in his life ever he has read anything, not even a single word about the great warrior Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. He has absolutely no idea about the legacy of the great warrior. He has absolutely no idea about his ideology, the history, what kind of a personality he was. He just decided to take offense without even watching that video and went on ranting. And not just ranting, these were open rape threats. And according to him, it was not a rape threat. He was, quote unquote, roasting the girl. And I'll tell you why exactly he thought. Because he wanted to be like another YouTuber, which he who is again known for putting up roasting videos. So he thought that he wants to be like him. He wants more followers. He wants to be popular online. That's why he took this approach of gaining getting eyeballs, grabbing attention. Apart from that, he also said that because he saw videos of a man called Hindustani Bhau and another man called Shubham from Gujarat, and he gave rape also, and he's arrested by Gujarat police also. So he saw their videos and he thought that he should also put a similar video because according to him. Now, another thing about this man is, this is not, as I mentioned, this is not for the first time he has done something like this. He has absolutely no idea about what he was talking. And another thing, which according to him, he thought, which according to him gave him the confidence to post the video, because a vandalism happened. The Habitat, a cafe where the gig actually was performed, was vandalized by a mob. So he saw that, like, because one of the members of the mob who claims to be from MNS went live on Facebook while the mob was actually vandalizing the cafe. So he saw that Facebook live and he thought that if somebody is vandalizing a place, there has to be some truth to it. Not again, I will insist on this, Tanvi, not even once he watched the video. He has never read anything about Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. All he wanted was to be
So, Sandhya, two things very quickly. What you're telling us is very shocking and very pertinent to this entire, to understanding this culture, this trend that has emerged. Firstly, the fact, viewers, note this. He had never seen the video. Secondly, he's barely read anything about Shivaji Maharaj. Thirdly, Sandhya, he found the strength, he claims, to do this because he saw a live video of the venue getting vandalized. So tell us what action has been taken in that case, and also what does this guy do for a living, or is he just out to grab some attention online, maybe impress some political people and get by in life?
Tanvi, as far as the vandalism is concerned, there is no action taken so far. Nobody is arrested by Mumbai police in the case, despite the fact that live video of vandalism is still very much there on Facebook, and it's still gaining more and more views. Apart from that, talking about the profile of the second accused, Umesh Dada, also known as Imtiaz Sheikh, he is a dropout, a school dropout. He has not even passed 8th standard, and he actually sells spices for a living. In fact, he also told Mumbai police, he confessed that how his family members, specifically his wife, she always fights with her and she always asks him to stop posting such filthy videos, but he never listened to her. And now he, of course, another interesting thing, Tanvi here, that once he realized that action was taken against Shubham Mishra, because he's a friend of Shubham Mishra also, once he realized that action was taken against him, not only he deleted all his posts he was planning to run, but before that, he actually tried to apologize to Joshua on a social media platform, and he told that this could actually help him. Tanvi.
Okay, Sandhya Gora, thank you for tracking the story and getting us all these updates. The fact that there was an outrage, that the biggest of the voices, on social media, influencers spoke up about it, forced the police in Gujarat and Maharashtra to arrest these two guys. They're not the only ones. There are more. And they're all apparently a gang. And they all think it's extremely cool to use this abusive language and issue such threats against women. And we're going to talk about it in just a bit. But first up, I actually want to say good evening to the panelists who are joining us right now. Neeti Phalta, Radhika Waz, Azim Banathwala, Snehal Dikshit Mehra, and Sejal Bhatt. Good evening and thanks for being with us, you guys. Neeti, I want to start with you. Is this becoming a big factor in the way comics will now start planning or dealing with their content? Is this becoming a very prevalent, painful part, especially for female comics?
Honestly, Tanvi, I had to think about twice before I said yes to this news debate, because I know I'm going to open myself out to a world of pain right after this. I'm already being trolled massively on Twitter. These guys, like you said, they are not informed. They will take anything and it's just an agenda. There is no genuine offense. There's no genuine, just nothing genuine in this. They call themselves nationalists, man. How can you be a nationalist? You are a bully. You're not a nationalist. And all my comedy, they're taking out of context and now quoting it just to serve their narrative. So how does one fight against ignorance? How?
How do you, Neeti? Let me start with you. How do you on a daily basis? I know you said you thought twice before coming on this debate, but even when it comes to, your content that you write, perform, or comments that you might just put on social media, not just about funny stuff, but anything, that happens around you and you want to talk about it, how do you deal with this kind of a disgusting backlash?
The only way to do it is to ignore it. Like, I don't read any of the trolls. I don't read any of the comments. It's the only thing you can do for your own peace of mind. As long as, God is your whatever witness. If I'm feeling something about my country or something that I don't agree with that's happening and I speak about it, half of these guys pile onto you, hey, you're a comedian, stick to jokes. When we do jokes, then they tell us don't do jokes about that. Decide now what you want. I don't know. And I'm saying you're free to take a free country, because हमारी तो शादियां भी पूरी नहीं होती without someone about something, right? But it's how you express that offense that's important, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. In fact, and that's something that we've also repeatedly said. You may not like a joke. You may even feel offended or feel hurt. It's how you express that. That's what is important. Are you going to go all out, resort to violence and assault and threats about assault and violence and, make someone's life a living hell online? Is that the way to go about it? Or you simply say that I didn't like it, maybe I will not watch it again? Radhika was comment on this, this trend that is becoming stronger and stronger. We've had these conversations earlier. Mostly people say that, well, we just ignore it. What else can we do? But for how long and how much of it can be ignored?
I actually think we should look at the real issue here. And honestly, I feel like you sort of touched on it. The real issue is unemployment. I mean, We have these masses of unemployed mama's boys running around the country without anything to do. They don't have a job. They're angry, they're frustrated, they're raised in a highly sexist, patriarchal kind of paternalistic kind of families where, they're treated like they're not treated like full people also. And so the way that they get their frustration out is by being on social media. It's the only place anyone listens to them. And then this is what they spend their time doing. Instead of, we've not taught our youth to ask the right questions. Like, these boys should be asking their MLAs, their ministers, and further up the ladder where the jobs are. Where are the jobs? Why is there so much? Why is our economy in these shambles? But instead of doing that, they've been brainwashed into changing the narrative, into like distracting all of us with this harassment. And it's beginning to feel like we're becoming one of the most dangerous places in the world for women, because literally it's gone from I'm offended by this to let's rape a woman. Like, that's the length of the trip from here to here.
Yeah, and I think that's the first go-to when on the receiving end, it is a woman. I mean, let's be honest, we've heard jokes on the same topic by many stand-up comics, and this has not been the level of response, and this has not been the level of threats and disgusting language that has been used. Azim, what do you make of what has happened in this specific case, and if that will make comics rethink the content they're putting out?
See, honestly, I can never claim to know or even understand or comprehend what getting a rape threat feels like. For me, the maximum that I've received is just a death threat, and you will realize how normal that has become for me to say just a death threat, because it's just a regular part of my day now. As far as modifying content goes, all of us have become a bit wary about doing it. But again, there is a difference of, yes, we are towing the line in terms of what is the law. A lot of us will run our material by lawyers to say, are we legally safe? But how do you compete, or how do you contest judgments that are made by courts of mobs of people? What do you do about that? There's no way. And even if you look at freedom of speech as a right that we have, under the exceptions, one of the exceptions is you are not allowed freedom if there is immoral or indecent speech. Now, who is the judge of what is immoral, what is indecent? So this law is used over time to manipulate and to bend people to the will of the people who are in power. So I mean, we can do our best to try and water it down and tone it down as much as we can, but after a point, there's only so much that you can do.
So Azim, then what does your lawyer say? Does he end up cutting down your content by 50% or more? Because like you said, this is very subjective, and in our country, there is always a group of people who are likely to get offended. I mean, I have examples of lawyers getting offended and DJs getting offended, or actors getting offended, and obviously this whole bunch of jobless, illiterate trolls getting offended, or some of the community, or one political wing, a wannabe politician. The list seems endless to me.
Yeah, so I think the biggest problem is that while we have the technology of 2020 as a nation, we are currently still living in the medieval ages. And until we move out of that, because people, they just, they hear, and you mentioned this in the reporting before we started talking as well, that people just heard a keyword, heard a name, and that's all it took to get upset. And they get upset without trying to understand what is being said, or either they lack a willingness or the mental capacity to do it. I think maybe the answer is somewhere in the middle of those two things.
Okay, Sejal, what do you think about it? Does it stop you? Does it stop you from speaking your mind or making any kind of joke that you want to on a public platform?
I think in general, as an artist, there is a general, part of my job is to figure out a way to push the boundary without pushing anyone's morality, like without putting any kind of like a moral conundrum for anyone to deal with. But my issue with this whole thing is basically that with comedians and entertainers, for some reason, people seem to find it easier to tell them how to do their job. Like, no one comes and tells someone in at your channel ki like aaj weather kaise bata diya, ye aaj to dhoop ho gayi. But like no one really raises that question. But somehow with comedians and artists, there's always that question of like, this is how you're supposed to do it. It's way more technical than that. And if there are individuals spending like all their lives into this profession, into figuring out how to phrase things the best way in order to not offend, then it makes no sense to react this harshly, this fast. And with the women there's always that extra angle with like a woman involved. There's always that extra sexual violence angle involved. And that, I think, is the thing that mainly bothers you, because people have a right to be offended. It's expected. People are irrational. But the way people react to this is what I think has caught everyone's attention, because this is not what you would expect for a joke, which is basically what the comedian's job is. Like, it makes no sense. So it's, as far as I'm concerned, though, I feel pushed to figure out a better way to, like, to sort of navigate this atmosphere where like anyone can take offense at any point. So I have to keep figuring out a better way to phrase myself, a better way to put my words. But I also do wish that there was a little understanding with the public that like this is their job, this is what they're supposed to do, and it's our job to tell them when our boundary feels pushed. But it's also a general human civility needs to be like maintained overall in the procedure, in the process of doing the feedback and putting out your work. So yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this. I know Radhika wants to make a point, and I'll go to her in just a bit. But Sejal, specifically for your content, and I'm right now struggling for the right word, because I don't want to say it's unconventional. Let's just say that you speak your mind. You do speak and make sexual references. You do. Perhaps for many people, it may come across as provocative. Do you get a lot of backlash for that? And if you do you just block it out?
I have in the past gotten a lot of backlash, but it's also something, there is really no way to block it out, because if you let everyone's perspective affect you, it can get very overwhelming very fast. So there was a phase where I was super overwhelmed by it, because I don't think people, when they're reacting, realize that there's another human being at the end of your, like, receiving all your harshness. And there was a period where it was like hard for me to figure this out. But I think this is really the only way that all of us, if we have to keep working, we have to keep figuring out a way to be okay with this, right? There's really no work around it. I just wish it was a little softer. It was like people were a little more considerate of the fact that there's someone putting their thoughts and feelings out there for you to judge.
Right. No, absolutely. And earlier in your first answer, you said that it's for the artists, they're always asked, why are you doing this or why are you saying this? Let me tell you, for news reporters and journalists, that happens on a daily basis. So it's not as if we are not asked or we are not accused of being on one side or the other, but I agree with you. You just learn to ignore that and do your job. Radhika wanted to make a point. Go ahead, please, and then I'll go to Snehal.
I agree with what Sejal is saying about that we have to become okay with some of this. So, I think all of us in the last couple of days, while Neeti was, we did discuss coming on the show, what it means and all of those things. But, we are going to learn how to be okay with this, and we're all learning it. And many of us had different points of it. And, we've got backlash in the past that's been heavy. And so we've become a bit, like Azim said, some of us have already become desensitized to it. Many of us are still on the journey of becoming desensitized. So that I agree with Sejal. That's going to happen to all of us. It has to happen. That's the world we live in. What I don't agree with, and I feel like I don't want comedians like her or me or any of us to be frightened into trying to navigate and to trying to figure out where the balance lies on how we're going to offend people, because we're never going to be able to find that point unless we dumb down our content to the point where it's so broad that everybody loves it. And not all of us are built like that. And we shouldn't be, because I think part of the job of being a comedian is really to speak truth to power. Like, we are the ones who have to say what it is, and we have to talk about stuff that's uncomfortable. And yes, we have to do it in a funny way. That's our job. but our job is to make people think about things. And sometimes those things are uncomfortable. And that's not even what happened in this particular situation with Agrima. That this is a situation that was blown out of proportion for no reason. But I'm saying the backlash of it is we shouldn't have to worry about what we're going to say. Our country has to go to the next level. We're at a very low level right now. We have to go to the next level. The audiences, not us.
Yeah, no, you are right there, Radhika. The fact that, I mean, this is the most bizarre case that I have seen. In this case, there was genuinely no joke about the historical figure that everybody is getting offended about. She simply read out a few comments or repeated a few comments that she read online, and she was actually talking about those people. There was nothing offensive, there was nothing abusive that was used. This is an old video that somebody discovered right now, and look at the kind of response. A venue was attacked and vandalized. She was threatened so much that she was forced to take down that video. She apologized, and the government actually initiated action. Proactively, that happened. And it's only after much outrage that we saw action being taken against those men who were actually threatening her. This infuriates me more than anything else. The selective action infuriates me more than anything else. Snail, one other aspect to this is what my reporter Santya was just pointing out, which is to say that this guy said he's not even seen the video, he's not even read about it, but he saw Shubham Mishra put out this video, and he saw these other roasters do these things, and he's very inspired by these roasters like Hindustani Bhau, I believe that character's name is, and he just wanted to do that. Apparently, this has now become a trend that men sit in these cars, dress up, and talk in this dirty, filthy language, and they think this is what online influencers and roasters are doing, so it's all right to do. Is that true? Has that become a big trend that we are witnessing online right now?
Absolutely, I agree with this because it has come to understanding. My understanding says that anybody who has a camera has started doing this and using abusive language, and they think it's cool. And you have to also understand this guy has nearly 3 lakh followers. And these followers are generated by making this kind of content. So there is certainly an uneducated bunch of, like Neeti said, unemployed lot who is watching this and making them their idols. And somewhere we are also responsible that we are making them the nationalists. Why are they responsible for being the patriots? How twisted is that somebody is abusing a woman and saying all nasty things? He is the voice of the nation suddenly.
Yes, and so why is this happening? To your mind, who is encouraging this culture, and how do we go about changing it or stopping it?
Like you rightly said, that this culture has, in a way, the twisted reasoning of the government to act on issues. A lot of celebrities had to tweet and create a hoo-ha about this problem, and then this guy was arrested and he took down the video. But it is so easy to file a case against a comedian who was trying to entertain. Meanwhile, there are people who are issuing threats, who are saying nasty things, sitting at the comfort of their cars and idolizing such men who are using abusive language. It's so twisted that the entire nation has to come along and say, ki, please do something about this man. So it is obviously somewhere the system is also responsible.
Yeah, Neeti, I wanted your view also on this, the fact that there is also an online culture that seems to be emboldening these guys. I mean, as if vote bank politics and identity-based politics or religion-based and caste-based politics wasn't enough to give trolls a platform. Now you have this whole culture where people just resort to using this kind of language and issuing threats and following them, then you have this entire set of others who are now using it against women and actually threatening and abusing real women.
See, there are a couple of things that are really frightening to me. Firstly, this guy actually thinks he respects women. He's justifying this, saying, oh, I respect women, but this one I don't respect, so it's okay to talk about her like this. This is genuinely a mindset that exists out there. And the followers that they have the same mindset. This frightens the hell out of me. My skin crawls off my body, and not in a nice way. And then there are vandals who've gone to a comedy club. They themselves have shot a video of themselves vandalizing and put it out on their own social media with such impunity. Why? How are they so not in fear of any action being taken? And we are in fear of telling a joke. Why is this happening? That tells you how badly skewed the balance is and in whose favor.
Radhika, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Neeti is saying. The issue in India is we have the worst law enforcement. Like, our law and order situation is beyond. So the fact of the matter is that, I mean, you can go into a club and vandalize it. This club is in a hotel, so they could actually walk in, take the video, like she said, with impunity. This stuff happens with impunity. And the reason it happens is because our cops, they're wasting their time doing God only knows what, following VIPs around, worrying about their safety, which frankly speaking is fine. Whereas handling this kind of thing is just not on their radar. So our personal freedoms are just not important in India. We don't have that. Our culture is not, it's not healthy for personal freedoms. That's why women are treated badly, minorities are treated badly, they're abused, they're physically abused, rape threats, sexual harassment. These are all part and parcel of our culture. Our culture is this. Our culture is not, oh, Shivaji Maharaj. Shivaji Maharaj is probably, his spirit right now must be like, please guys, keep my name out of your mouth. Like, don't talk about me. You know, our culture today is where we don't know how to treat people properly and there's no law and order.
Well, this guy got outraged and went on this rant without ever having read about Shivaji Maharaj. So that just goes on to show, what a farce all of this is. But he gets importance and he gets his followers. And someday if he manages to do this right and continue on this path, he will probably also get some political patronage. That's how it has become because, well, vote bank politics. But there is this one other aspect that I wanted to ask you guys about. And maybe Azim, I can start with you. Often the response I see on social media or from these people who are getting offended and who are getting outraged about content being put out by a comic or even TV serials that we have online, that why is everything linked and attacking the Hindus? Why is it that all jokes are targeted at Hindus or their gods or their mythology? You don't see such kind of a content for other religion? Is it because we've become soft targets? We should all stand up and we should all raise this voice. Is there merit to this kind of obviously there's no merit to use this as an excuse. But what would you say to such people who make this argument?
I don't know what I would say, but I think I have been trying for a long while to figure out where this is coming from. And I think I sort of have a reasonable explanation, which at least that I can give myself, which is that over the last 5 or 6 years, and primarily this is when people have started getting more outraged, it's become increasingly, internet has become increasingly accessible to everyone. Free internet, free data. And now a lot of the people who received this giant access to the internet were living in a tiny bubble, whereas Radhika said they were living in the culture of the old India, where there's no respect for women, where we are going to defend and fight for our identity, for our religion, for our gods, because that's all that they knew. But then suddenly, with the flick of a switch, now you have access across the world to ideas that are new, that are different, and challenge your belief. And when your belief, and a lot of these people, unfortunately, also come from a place where they don't have a lot of privilege, they don't have a lot of money, they don't have a lot of material things. The only thing that they have is their identity, right? And if your identity is challenged, then that creates in them anxiety, it creates insecurity, and it is expressed then through anger. And this is the anger really that we are seeing over here. And it's misdirected, obviously, because they feel that our identity is being compromised when it really isn't. It's just new information that you're being exposed to, and you think that people are threatening you when it's really not the case.
So, in this kind of an environment, Azim, how do you see the comedy scene in India then evolving? It has to find its own path. It can't be the same that we've seen, in other countries across the world, because we obviously are more sensitive, and we have a higher number of no-no zones than topics that we will be ready to listen to jokes about. So, how do you see the evolution of the entire comedy scene then?
I don't know. It's going to be a tricky path, as I think Sejal was saying, and I know that Radhika said that we should not have to navigate this path by any stretch of imagination. But there is a certain degree of tact using that tact. But now, even when you are tactful with your jokes, when your jokes have no wrong connotation to them, it's just being taken out of context. So after a point, it's just that, listen, this is our job, and you got to do the best job you can. And at some point, we're going to have backlash. Sometimes we'll get away with it, and we will just have to persevere. There's, as I think Radhika pointed out, a lot of people like me, I have got completely desensitized to the threats and the abuse. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's another day at work, and you get used to it, and you move on. And hopefully we get the small victories, in the sense that when there are people who are making rape threats, we see those people go to jail. Hopefully that sends a message to other people that you cannot behave this way, and it's one small threat eliminated. And it's small victories, it's one step at a time, and I think that's how we have to approach it.
Okay, that's an optimistic note. Small little victories where at least 2 people have been sent to jail. I don't know to what extent the police will pursue the case. On our part, we can just continue to follow up and outrage and question them as far as action is concerned. But Snehal wanted to make a point. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So there are 2 points that I want to make. Number one is there is zero accountability. People who are using social media as a tool and running fast with this word roasting, they need to be held accountable for the words that come out of their mouth. Number one. Number two, making jokes or being funny is so subjective that I can find something funny and you might not. So there is no right way to write good comedy and make sure that nobody gets offended. So that is something which we can't do anything about it. But accountability has to come. People who are making threats need to be punished in some way so that it sends across a message to an entire mob who thinks it's all right to sit in your car and say anything you want.
Yeah, but Snehal, instead what we'll actually seeing is the other way around. There are roasters, there are these YouTubers, I mean, I don't know what the right phrase is, I'm still learning, who've become so popular that they're now getting, reality shows and TV shows and all the kinds of sponsorships that they want. So, how do we draw the line? Does it have to be something that, the industry and you guys yourself begin to do?
It is a change that will happen. First of all, the kids have to know that the person they are following, what are the reasons they are following this person for? Are they following him for the hate that he is spewing? Also, the big decision makers in the industry need to take stock of the situation and understand these guys are not the patriots or the nationalists that we want to see. We don't want them to see. We don't want them to come to a reality show and see them. Please, we don't. So the decision makers have to sit back and think and make decisions.
Okay, the other aspect, and it's connected to what we were just talking about, is how it plays on the minds of all of you guys. Frankly, we also reached out to many who've actually faced similar backlash where shows may have been cancelled or FIRs have been filed, and I found so many instances of people themselves have been isolated, thrown out of their places and all of that. But everybody, and understandably so, most of them didn't want to talk about it because you don't want to, again, invite trouble. So, Radhika, when you say you have to gradually, it's not about learning to navigate, but maybe figuring out how it works. What do you mean? For a lot of these comics, how do they design their content in this kind of an environment then?
Okay, so, this is very similar to what happens when a woman gets raped or harassed, right? Everyone turns around and they want to know what she was doing to have got harassed. What was she wearing? Where was she? What time was it? Where was her dad? Where was her brother? Where was her husband? So we want to now make women change their behavior so that men don't harass them, instead of telling the men and teaching the men not to harass these women. So it's the same thing. Women have to behave so that they are safe. Minorities have to behave so that they are safe. Comedians have to behave so that we're safe. We're not looking at this the right way. We're still talking about what are you guys going to do to improve the situation. We can't do anything. This is what we do. What we have to change is the culture of this country and the law and order situation where this kind of thing does not happen. You cannot ask a woman to behave a certain way so she won't get raped. You have to tell boys not to rape her. You can't tell comedians to behave a certain way. That's our job. People just can't react however they feel like.
But the argument from the other side is that just because you're a comedian doesn't mean that you mock anybody or you hurt anybody's sentiments. And if that continues to be the debate with the authorities not on your side, then what choice do people have?
Yeah, but we aren't doing that. Most comedians, if you look at our content, I'm talking about the ones who are actual comedians, we don't just go around mocking people. We don't do that. If you look at most of our content, it's not about just, you're a so-and-so community and so we're just going to say whatever we feel like about you. That's not how most of us make our living. I can guarantee you of that. Like most of us on this panel, at least I'm familiar with almost everyone.
I absolutely agree with you.
So it's a made-up
No, Radhika, I absolutely agree with you, but I'm not the one who's going to get offended. Unfortunately, the ones who are getting offended don't get that point.
Okay, so again, I'm just coming back. Look, I don't think we're going to change the dynamic on the show, but what I'm trying to say is that I think that we have to recognize that this is exactly the same situation as when a woman gets harassed or raped. We wonder where she was, what time it was, what she was doing. That's part of our culture. You may not think that, I may not think that, but the greater group of people do think that, and that's why women continue to be a target of violence. Similarly, if we continue to think that comedians have to think about how they're going to speak, we're not going to change we're not going to change the game.
Yes. No, that's a very valid point. In fact, that's a great comparison and an analogy to help people understand this. But look at what happens in our country, unfortunately. 90% of the women do think twice before they step out of their homes. They're constantly told where they're going, how careful they need to be, who they're going out with, what they should be wearing. That's literally become the life of women, and not just in our country, across the world. That's the problem. And this is the fight we have every single time. Every single time there is a crime that gets committed or threat of a crime and a threat that's made to the woman, it's the same conversation. And I think maybe you're right. The comedians also need to think about that and say, well, do we want to fight back or do we just want to skirt around the issue and avoid it and maybe, go about just doing our job? Azim, you wanted to make a point. Go ahead, please.
So I was just picking up on something that Radhika had said, which was that, again, you're saying that a lot of people are saying that comics will make jokes about a particular community or a particular sect. But honestly, if you look closer at the joke, it's usually not about the religion or anything. I don't think any of us as people, despite whatever individual views we may have, are going to put out content that is intentionally out there to hurt religious sentiments or to actually make fun of religions. Generally, typically what happens is that there will be jokes about people who are fanatic about a certain religion. And I think there is a huge difference between making a joke about someone who is a fundamentalist element versus an actual religion or a god, because those are not the same things, and making jokes about particular gods and religions is not what we tend to do in any case.
Oh no, fair enough. Okay, so let me say this. Let me give you examples. Let's talk about, and I'll give you 2-3 examples. You don't have to specifically speak about any of these comics, but Veerda's show got into trouble, and he got into trouble because a bunch of lawyers got upset about how the lawyers were being portrayed on his show. Rahul Subramaniam got in trouble. His act was cancelled at one of the Pune events, if I'm not mistaken, because a bunch of DJs apparently got upset about some of the jokes that he made about them, or about DJs, or a joke that may have involved a DJ, to the extent that his act was cancelled then because they all landed up at the venue. Kunal Kamrat continues to see significant backlash, shows getting cancelled, venues getting vandalized. In this specific case, the venue has been vandalized. Obviously, the girl got so scared that she immediately pulled down the video and apologized. And it's the same logic, Azim. She wasn't really making fun of any community or even a political or a historical figure. But it's happened. So, rationality aside, we are staring at irrationality and irrational people behaving in irrational ways. How does that then, how do you deal with that? That essentially is my point in my conversation.
Move to Canada.
Okay. Neeti, do you want to comment on that? I think that's the trickiest part here, right? And I did see a lot of comedians put this up saying that, well, at this rate, I don't know what I'm going to joke about if I have to, seriously start pulling down my videos and start apologizing.
Look, I recently did a crowd work show where I told the crowd, you tell me a joke, I will find a way to find offense in it. Because it's that easy to do. I mean, offense is easier to find than employment right now.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying because you can tell hathi cheete jokes and then be called out for body shaming. So where do we go? There is no way to deal with irrationality. We can be more careful, but how do we know that what we are saying now won't offend somebody and be quoted out of context and someone won't come and threaten me, my parents, my household, and God knows my entire family tree? There is no way out of this. That is what is frustrating. We can say we'll be careful. But there is no point in being careful because we are anyway not making fun of God. We are making fun of fanatics. And fanatics will continue to be the point of my ridicule, at least if I ever. Because they are stupid. What do I do? I'm going to get in so much trouble for saying that.
Absolutely. Right? And I hope not. I hope not. Just don't log on to your social media tonight, and I think you should be okay. Sejal, do you also want to comment on this? Since and I'm asking you from the point of view because you are relatively new on the scene. You've given up, I believe, a corporate profession to come into this. So have many of the other comics. Does this make you rethink your choices?
It does not really. There are some concerns I have because of this. Like, a behavior like this says a lot about our culture. Like, for me, one I wanted to add this was, I think accountability runs both ways. If comedians are taking the effort to, comedians or artists of any kind are taking the effort to really well phrase themselves and navigate this well, then and you're holding us accountable to some standards that you can't make these jokes for the others, then we should similarly hold accountable the other YouTubers or whoever's commenting on the comedians as well, right? Because this guy can't just sit in a car and say whatever he wants, whereas I or any of my peers here have spent months working on a joke, figuring out the best way to say it, the best way where it gets a laugh, where it touches just the right line between, just the right boundary touches. If you're putting in so much effort and we're still being held accountable for our words, then so should this guy or any of these guys. Secondly, I wanted to add that I think people really need to understand that comedy is quite synonymous almost with irreverence. And it will always go against whatever power structure you have in place. It's the job of comedy to do this. We're supposed to, and in a country that's Hindu majority, the jokes will also be like, the jokes will punch a little Hindu majority. It is to be expected. It doesn't mean that comics like pointedly make jokes only about Hindus. It just means that there are more Hindus in the country, and therefore the jokes will have more Hindus in them as well. I think people just need to somewhat like trust the entertainers and artists of your culture to accurately depict the culture, and not really. It doesn't make me rethink my choices. It does make me rethink how comedy is seen in our country and where it needs to go from here. That I really have like a lot to think about.
Okay, then maybe we'll have another round of conversation to talk about the future of comedy in more detail in the light of what's happening. But thank you so much, you guys, all of you, for joining us on this conversation. One thing is very clear: what happened in this case was outrageous. I understand if Agrima felt the need to pull it down, to protect herself and to protect her family, to pull down the video and put out an apology. But it shouldn't be like that. There shouldn't be a situation where anybody has to do that. If you're a comedian and you're making jokes, you're simply trying to make people laugh. If somebody doesn't laugh, that person can simply walk away and not watch your joke or your next gig. That's how it's supposed to function. But in our country, everybody just wants a little bit of attention. And how do you get that? By trolling, by coming out and targeting people, by looking cool because they think abusing women and issuing sexual assault threats and rapes is cool. So let's all do that. Viewers, you will not believe it, but that's exactly a trend that's catching on. These men like Umaid and Shubham, they all think it is cool, and they are roasters by issuing these threats. They're ignorant, illiterate, jobless bunch of people who've never even read about these figures that they claim to be supportive of. They've never even watched the jokes. But this is how they think they will thrive in this country. And that is the culture that needs to change. Our governments, our authorities, our police needs to think about which side are they on. Should they be going after comics for making jokes, or should they be going after people who issue rape threats? I think the choice is very simple, but unfortunately that's not how it works in this country. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation.